Here the file server, it keeps a lot of files of different types. When a client requests for a file, the server program transfers that file to the client side. Here you can see 1.jpg, 2.jpg and timetable.pdf. These are the files we kept in the server side. Now we are compiling the server program. Executing the server program, it will show the list of files kept at the server side. Next we are compiling the clients. See at the server side, we are using an array of strings to store the files. And we have hard coded this means it is not reading the directory and taking the files from the directory. It is not like that. We have declared an array of strings and we are keeping the file names in that array. So you are getting this display from the array. We are compiling the client and running. You will be getting two options, git or download the file. We selected one. Ask for the file name 1.jpg. Okay, that is transferred to the client. 536K size. You can see 1.jpg at the client side. Running the client, we are giving a wrong file name. You can see the output file not found at the client side. You can see file ID -1. Downloading the file timetable.pdf. Okay, that file downloaded. I will show you those files. Client side 1.jpg. You are able to open that, and timetable.pdf. You can see at client side 1.jpg and timetable.pdf. This is the server program. It runs at the port 2600, and backlog means it is used with asset. That means it can keep 10 clients in the queue. So here this is the array used to store the file names. You can see 1.jpg, 2.jpg and timetable.pdf. Here the server create the socket, then it is binding, then it will listen for the clients. and in an infinite while loop, that is accepting connections from the clients. So at the server side, server create the socket, then bind it, then listen. Okay, after that it is waiting for the client request. On a client request, it will accept it. Okay, then coming to the client program, it uses the server IP 127.0.0.1, the loopback address, and here you will be getting uh, options download and exit. Once you select download option 1, the function download file will work. Let us check what is inside download file. It will be asking for the file name, then reading the file name, it create a socket, then it will try to connect. So at the client side, socket will be created, then it will connect to the server. Server will accept the request. Then after accepting, what is done by the client? It will send the file name. Here you can see it is read the file name into the variable file name. Okay, this variable is sent to the server. Okay, after connecting, it will send the file name to the server. The file name to the server, and server will receive that. Let us check the server program. After accepting, it will receive the file name. After accepting the connection, it will receive the file name. Then it will try to open the file. The server will open the file. There are two chances: file exists or file does not exist. So it will send the status to the client. That is, on receiving the file name, server will send the status, that is file exists or not. That is the file status, exists or not, that is a -1 or a1. And the client will receive the status in the variable return code, RET code. If the RET code is file not found, it will print file not found. We have seen it in the output. The file status will be received by this will received in RET underscore code. If the RET code is file not found, file not found is defined here. It is a -1. This is file not found. Defined a -1. So if the return code is a -1, the client will print file not found. Else it will display downloading file. At the same time, the server will read the file. Server will read the file into an buffer BUF. Its size is 1024 bytes, defined as character. So buffer is a character array. So the server program will read the file content to an array of character named buffer. And after reading, it will send the bytes read. See, it is in a while loop. The reading of the file is inside a while loop. So it is not necessary that the file size is 1024 bytes. It can have more than 1024 bytes. So it has to read so many times. Okay. It is, if the size is some 5000 bytes, it has to read 5 times. So this way it read the file content to the buffer. Then that buffer will be sent to the client. Okay, let us see here in the picture. After receiving the return code, client will be ready to take the file sent by the server. For that, it will open a file. After receiving the return code, the file status, the client will open a file in the same name to write. Server will read the file to a variable named buffer and send the buffer to client. So this process will be continue. Say an infinite while loop. It will be reading the file 1024 bytes at a time and sending 1024 bytes to the client, that is sending the file. What is done by the client? It will be receiving and writing to the newly opened file. Okay, let us check what will be done by the client after completing receiving of the complete file. Okay, open the file, then in a while loop, in an infinite while loop, it is receiving the content sent by the server and writing it to the newly opened file. Then if the number of bytes received equal to 0 or minus 1, that is the server is the end of file. It will break the while loop. See, this is received bytes underscore received equal to 0 or bytes underscore received is equal to minus 1. The loop will be broken. Then total number of bytes received equal to total number of bytes received plus bytes underscore received. After that, client will be closing the file and the socket. So after completing this transfer, the client will close the file and close the socket. Then what is at the server side? After completing the transfer, see, it is inside an infinite while loop. So if the bytes read is not greater than 0, that is all the bytes are over, it will close the socket used to communicate with the client and close the while loop or break the while loop. Okay, so the server will close the socket used to communicate with the client, and see here the asset function is inside a infinite while loop. Okay, so it has to go for the next client. After closing the socket used to communicate with this client, it has to go for the next client. So at the server side, after sending the file, it will close the socket used to communicate with this particular client, and it will go for the next client. That is, it has to accept next client. Okay, this way program proceeds.